Hey guys, this is Evan Kirkham, co-founder and CEO of Outlier. Today, I want to show you a little bit about our new web app, walk you through the kind of major feature sets, show you the data that we're able to present, the trends we're able to present, and really take you end to end, starting with browsing picks. Then we're going to analyze some picks, and we're actually going to execute some picks today too. So let's get started. I'm going to share a screen here and show you, again, our web app. Note that this is also available on iOS. Super polished, really proud of what the team has put together on both web and iOS. But for the purposes of demonstration, let's look at the Outlier web app today. On the far left-hand column, you'll see that there are three tabs: trends, games, and props. These are actually the three main feature sets in Outlier, and I'm going to go through all three of them today, starting with trends. Now, when you think about a bettor's journey, it's really divided into three parts: browsing and ideating, kind of thinking of what kind of bets am I even interested in tonight, analyzing, once I've decided on a bet or think I have a good idea of what that bet may be, I want to analyze it. I want to see the supporting stats, the injuries, how many times that's hit in the past, etc. And then the execution piece. Again, we'll walk you through all three today, but our trends, and specifically our trending insights, is really that browsing and ideating phase. So let's look here. We have trends for the NBA, MLB, NHL, WNBA, and when they're in season, NFL, college football, college basketball. We're actually pretty fortunate because right now the NBA finals are going on. So these are some really fun props, both player props and team props. Let's just look at the top. So here you see our first trend. Nikola Jokic has failed to exceed 1.5 3-pointers in 14 of his last 20 games as a favorite. It's actually a pretty deep insight. And what you'll see if you cared to count the little red and green tick marks is that there are 14 green and 6 red, meaning that, again, he's failed to exceed 1.5 3-pointers in 14 of his last 20 games. You can see that line is available on FanDuel for -194. It might very well be available on other books as well, but that's the best line. We're showing you the best line right off the bat. And if I clicked in, I could see more about that particular prop. But first, let's just look at a few more trends. So a lot of these, I guess, are going to be about Jokic since there's only 2 teams remaining in the NBA Finals. Let's see. Failed to exceed 41.5 points. Let's look for an over because those are actually particularly fun. Over 5 blocks. Jimmy Butler over 12.5 rebounds and assists. I really want a Jokic prop because that's just the most fun. Maybe we'll have to settle for a Jimmy Butler prop. Okay, let's look at this. Jimmy Butler has exceeded 5.5 rebounds in 12 of his last 17 playoff games. Cool. Let's go ahead and research that one a little further. So I'm going to click over 5.5 rebounds. It's going to drop me into what we call the market details page. So what I can see in the market details page is how many times in the last 5 games, 10 games, 20 games, head-to-head, etc., Jimmy Butler has had over 5.5 rebounds. So here we are in the last 10 games. He's gone over it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, right? Here's in the last 20 games, head-to-head, all of this season, all of last season. And I got to apologize a little bit. My internet connection's kind of screwy here. So let's just look at last 10, right? Great. So he's hitting it more often than not. The question is really like, all right, well, but what's going to happen in tonight's game? Like, his game against Boston, a couple of weeks ago, does that really matter all that much? What about when the game conditions are as we expect them to be for tonight's game? So if I click these little sliders, I can actually filter and make some predictions about the conditions and see how Jimmy Butler performs under those conditions. So here we go. Let's start with games without players. All right, so let's see. All right, Tyler Hero's out tonight. So games when Jimmy Butler does not have Tyler Hero. Games when he does not have Victor Oladipo. Okay. Looks like Miami is the dog by 3.5 points. So when Miami loses by 3 or more points. Okay, great. And Jimmy Butler's not going to get load managed because it's a playoff game, right? It's actually a must win. So they're going to play Jimmy Butler. So let's say when he plays between, 34 and 47 points. All right. Under those conditions, he's hitting it 2 out of 3 times. Right? That's a lot better than we saw. That's like 60%, right? So pretty interesting stuff. You get to predict the conditions for the night's game and see the how Jimmy Butler performs under those conditions. Of course, we're looking at his rebounds, but we could easily look at his points, his first quarter points, his assists, etc. And what you'll notice is actually the conditions that we selected persist. So that's pretty neat. Let's go to points. And I'm actually just going to reset so we can see more data. All right, great. So last 10, he's hitting his over 26.5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 10 times. Cool. We want to know more. For instance, why did he only have 13 points 3 games ago? Well, was it a minutes problem? Actually, yeah, it looked like he played fewer minutes than normal. Did he get close to fouling out? No, he did pretty good on fouls. What about his... Okay, there we go. He didn't have too many attempts. He only had 14 shot attempts. That's pretty low compared to his average, right? What about 3 points? Yeah, not a ton of 3 points, and he only hit 1. So you can see there's some really interesting supporting stats that will either, support or contradict your thesis about Jimmy Butler going over 26.5 points. Great. If you look over here at the very far right side, there are 3 additional tabs. The matchup tab. So here you can see Denver points defense. This is actually really important. He's playing the Nuggets tonight. How good is the Denver defense giving up points? Well, they're actually ranked 8th in the entire NBA, meaning that they don't give up a ton of points. So this might be why the Heat are getting owned by the Nuggets. And it certainly might be why Jimmy Butler is, less expected than normal to go over 26.5 points. You can also see the current season offensive versus defensive ranks, Nuggets versus Heat, points, field goals, 2 points, 3 points, etc. Flip it around. Check those out, right? Do whatever you want there. If you go to injuries, this is actually really neat too. So we'll show you, we source this every 60 seconds from RotoWire. And essentially what we're showing you is who's in, who's out. Sometimes we'll even give you a report. Like, I think it looks like Tyler Hero has a report here. So here's the RotoWire report on Tyler Hero's injury. We have everything from the coach weighing in on it to what the notes are on the hand injury. Pretty deep stuff. And then finally, if you go to insights, this is showing insights for the particular game, right? So Nuggets versus Heat, you'll see all those Jokic insights, tons of Jokic insights. You'll see Butler insights, you'll see them all. If you're feeling confident about this particular pick, you can click add to my picks here at the top, -110, those are the odds. And it'll add it to your bet slip in the bottom right. And we'll get to that a little bit later. So that's trends. Great. Let's go to games. Now that you understand the little red and green tick marks, games is a lot easier to understand. So again, there's only one NBA game tonight, but we could look at MLB and we could look at NHL, where in fact, there's also only one game. Let's just stick with NBA for consistency. Great. So Nuggets Heat, money line, spread, over under. What you can see here, literally just from a glance, because of those red and green tick marks, is that the Nuggets have won 8 out of their last 10 games. And in fact, with the exception of 2 nights ago, they're on a pretty serious win streak. You can see how many times that they've covered the spread, and you can see how many times they've gone over and under. If you want to dig in a little bit deeper, which I wasn't planning on doing, but we'll do here quickly. So let's see, Nuggets -3.5. That's the spread. If I click in, I can actually see how many times in the last 10 games the Nuggets have covered the spread if the spread had been 3.5, and how many times they've covered the spread, whatever the spread actually was. You can see the same for Miami, right? I could also do the last 20. I could also look at alternate lines, etc. All right, I think the Nuggets are going to win again tonight, keep their roll going. So I think they're beating the Heat by more than 3.5. I should probably dig into that more, and I certainly can here, but for purposes of the demo, just add it to my picks. There we go. So add it to my picks. All right, so that's games. Props. This is where our users spend a ton of time, and you'll see why. It's actually an incredibly useful resource. And again, sorry for the internet connection and the slower load times. Right now, we're looking at the NBA props, but again, MLB is available, NHL, WNBA, etc. Actually, just to show you. So the MLB, which has multiple games going on tonight and today, there are over 10,000 props in this list. We integrate with FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, and Caesars, meaning that if any bet is available on one of those 4 books, it's shown here in Outlier. So it's just props on props on props on props on props on props on props. The question becomes, how do I actually filter those props? And I guess I'll actually stick with MLB because it's fun. So here's how I filter it. Well, maybe I can filter by proposition type. I only want to see strikeouts or doubles or earned runs or hits allowed, etc. Maybe I want to do it by a particular player. Like I could just type in Rizzo and look at Anthony Rizzo's props, for instance. Maybe I only want to do overs or unders. Like that's a cool way to sort it. Or maybe I want to sort it by minimum odds, right? So I only want to see really long odds. So I'm going like plus 400 and above, right? Which is why you see everything turn red. These are not going to hit. But I want to go really long odds. So that's another way to do it. I'm just going to take that away for now. And of course, I can include all the alt lines, which gives us even more props. Great. The other ways to sort it, and this is where I think a lot of the power is you can sort it by implied probability, right? That's what the book thinks the percentage of the chance the bet is going to hit. You could sort it by the performance in the last 5 games, last 10 games, last 20 games, etc. So like right now, I have it sorted by last 10. This is sort of actually, this is the global default setting, but it's also my favorite kind of default setting. So Suzuki, frankly, I don't know the player. I know a decent bit about baseball, but I don't know the player. And we're seeing, is he going to have over 1 strikeout? Well, get this. In the last 5 games, he's had over 1 strikeout 100% of the time. In the last 10, 100% of the time. In the last 20, 80% of the time. Head-to-head against the Angels, who he's playing tonight, 100% of the time. Right? That's actually really powerful, and I would have never thought to even look for that prop. So I'm just going to add it. Click the button. Of course, if I wanted to, I could click in, and I could get even more details about it like we were looking at later, or earlier. One other cool thing here. If you look at the batter stats, we can see how Suzuki, he's the first batter here, how Suzuki has done on the season, at bats, average, home runs, RBIs, OPS, etc. We can also see how he's doing versus left-handed pitchers. Damn, he's actually overperforming against left-handed pitchers. And we can even see how he's performing against the specific pitcher that he's up against tonight. Of course, he doesn't have any. It looks like he has no at-bats against that pitcher. All right, so we're going back to props. So there you go. Trends, games, props. Now what do we do? All right, well, we've added in the last however long 3 picks. You can see them all down here. So I'm going to click it. This is my provisional bet slip. This is only available on DraftKings. I'm going to kill it for now. All right, so we have these 2, right? So I can see that they're available. The 2 are available on FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, and MGM. Well, I guess not the Butler points, but they're available on 3 of the 4 books. The Denver spread is available on 4 of the 4 books. Of course, and I can see the odds, so I know where I can get competitive pricing. And of course, if I wanted to just choose Caesars, I could do the same. If I wanted to choose MGM, I could do the same. Let's actually just stick with FanDuel here. Great. And then if I want to actually place these bets, I click continue. I choose my state. A little different flow on iOS, but choose my state. And check this out. I'm actually immediately taken to the FanDuel's sportsbook, and both of those picks are placed in my bet slip, which is really cool. We call it deep linking at the bet slip level, and it massively increases efficiency. So you don't have to go research and then rebuild. You research and then check out. Easy as that. It's especially powerful when we're looking at bet slips with 15 or 20 different picks, which is what a lot of our users do. You do not want to have to rebuild that, and we make it so you don't. So anyway, that's what we have for today. And again, walked you through trends, games, props, and my picks. And so definitely go check out Outlier. Let us know if you have any questions. Really, really appreciate you checking out the product. And of course, always interested in feedback. So thanks so much and chat soon.